everyone, it's Pocket and welcome to another BJD body review. Today we'll be looking at the Dollshe Pure Body of the classic Dollshe line, and the sculpt we'll be looking at as well is the Dollshe Saint. Now before I remove any more of his clothes, here are some basic measurements. This doll is 70 centimeters tall, and the weight is right under that. I don't know that off by heart, that's why I'm just going to write it right next to him. He's definitely a taller SD. I think you also refer to this size as hound size. He's currently the tallest BJD in my collection. Now I'm just quickly gonna size him up next to some other dolls in my collection so that you can see what he looks like next to other sized dolls. So here he is next to a 65 centimeter female BJD of around the same proportions as Eiffel House dolls. This is a Feeble 65 Chloe. As you can see, she's slightly shorter than he is. She's wearing shoes, but they are flat shoes. They don't really boost her size that much, so I consider them to not really play a big role in this size up, especially because she's usually a little bit shorter than 65 centimeters, so I guess with the shoes she would be exactly 65 centimeters. This is him next to a 60 centimeter doll, approximately 60 centimeters, let's say that, because she is wearing shoes. Just to put this out there, I do not currently have the time to undress all of my dolls just for the sake of this video. If you're interested in looking at these dolls in an exact height comparison situation, let's say, you can go to Comparison Heaven. I'm going to put a link for you in the description box, and you can size them up there. You can also choose different BJDs than what I'm showing you now, but I'm just doing this so you can get a rough feel for his size. It's not necessary, but I think it helps, and that's why I'm doing it to the best of my abilities, and that is currently with clothed BJDs. And lastly, here he is next to an MSD-sized doll. This is a mini Fee, which is approximately 45 centimeters tall, if I'm not mistaken. So this is obviously the biggest height difference that I can show you at the moment. Sorry I didn't disclaim about the doll nudity. I just happened to grab a mini Fee that was not wearing any clothes. Sorry about that. Alright, now on to the actual doll nudity. So if you're bothered by that, I'm gonna just give this vocal warning right here. Any of you who are bothered by that, just throwing that out there. Here you see the doll undressed. I probably should mention that this doll is in Dollshe Oriental skin tone, for you people who were wondering. So it's a bit more yellow than the usual normal skin tones, even though they do range from normal pink to normal yellow. And in that case this would be more on the yellow side, but it's not very opaque as opposed to some other skin colors, for example Fairyland or Eiffel House skin colors. Taking it right from the top, Dollshe has a faceplate system for these dolls, and you can just pop out the faceplate by pulling it down like this. And here you will see this thing, which might look a bit weird to some of you who are maybe expecting an S-hook to be there instead of this weird shiny ball. There is the string, and this little contraption here makes sure that the string is held in its place, and to pop out the head all you have to do is take a piece of wire or anything that is very sturdy and long and thin, slip it through these two holes here. As you can see, there are two holes. Pull it up, pull it to the side, and then you will be able to take off the entire head of the doll. It's really simple. I think it's ingenious. I love that Dollshe does these metal inlays because it means that the resin will not be damaged by, for example, just a plain S-hook like all the other BJD companies do, and I think it's really clever. As you can see, there's one little magnet over there, and all around the metal thing you can see the sculpt and who sculpted it, and this thing just pops back on there. I've not seen anything like this done on a doll before. I think it's a really clever solution. Moving further down, you can see his arms, his torso, and the joints. The Pure Body only has one joint, this one big joint going across here, and that's actually okay because it works really well. I'll show you just now. The arms have got double joints. The wrists are just single joints, but they've got quite a good range of movement. And here that he doesn't have extra mobility joints at all, but like I said, that doesn't really matter. I'll show you just now. Going further down, you can see he's got double jointed knees, and there are his feet. The one thing I have to say though about his feet is that underneath they are not flat, they are sculpted like actual feet. But however, unlike actual real human feet, they do not adapt to any surface. So that means that making him stand is slightly more tricky. He actually stands a lot better when he's rocked back on his heels rather than forward. Usually with most doll companies, the doll has its balance spread across the sole of the foot, and here it's more along the back, the heel actually. It takes a bit of getting used to. It's not a bad thing, but it's just something you should keep in mind. So he's not the sturdiest stander, but when you get him to stand, he does stand well. I should probably also mention this doll is extremely loose. I've not been able to restring it. Okay, let me show you a couple of things that he can do. Let's start out with the head movement. Before actually I show you that, I have to tell you, be very, very careful when you're moving this guy's head, because of the way the faceplate goes on his head back, you have to like slide it up here, see? And slide it down if you want to get it off. It can be very easy to dislodge the head, the faceplate, and send his faceplate flying. So be very careful. It actually just happened to me in a take. When I was trying to show you the movement, I did this, because I wanted to press the head down, and the head went flying. But it's actually not funny because obviously resin can break and you don't want your doll to break when you're just trying to move its head. So that's one thing right off the back that I don't like. I don't like that you can so easily remove this guy's faceplate. It does have magnets. It's got 2 magnets, top and bottom, but I feel like they should have used stronger magnets. I don't get why companies don't do that in general. They should always use strong magnets to keep head backs or faceplates on, because I think it's a hazard in disguise. That's why. Grab it on the side of the head, just to make sure the faceplate doesn't fly off, and then you can see he actually doesn't look down very well. That's it. I can't make him go further down. If I make him look up though, he can look up quite well, which is interesting. Side to side is very good. You can turn him right around, doesn't really matter. See, I'm just wiggling a little bit and the head... I don't like this. But, constant vigilance, as I always say with dolls. The torso joint works really, really nicely, I must say. If I move his torso forward, without getting his head to fly off again, that's some pretty neat slouching action right there. Dollshe sculpted these little holes in the back so that the joint actually locks into place when you're slouching him. If you hear anything rattling inside the head, don't be afraid. It's just the metal sphere that surrounds the neck mechanism. It's just popped on, you know, it's just magnetic. So it will rattle a little bit as you're posing him. Nothing to be worried about though. He does not, unfortunately, have a good side-to-side movement, just because of the way it's sculpted. That is all in the way of him going like that, or like that. You can go like that though. That's interesting. So if you want him to do a creepy pose from the side, like, hey, who are you looking at? That's something he can do. I'm trying to get him to arch his back, but it's difficult. He's not doing it. That's definitely something to consider if you're getting a Dollshe pure body, that he can't arch his back and he can't turn side to side with his upper body. Definitely keep that in mind. The sculpting is beautiful. I think it looks really good. You have to be a fan of it, I believe, but the overall aesthetic and the way he is sculpted is beautiful. I think that goes without say. But the torso thing is definitely something to consider. Brilliant sloucher, but I think that goes for all Dollshe bodies. Now moving on to the arms, they are very loose. The double jointing works really well. You have to fiddle with it a little bit to pop it out, but once it does, you can basically go any angle from there. The wrist movement is okay, and side to side, like that, like that. But it's a very movable joint. I think it's okay. I like it. I like that it can, you know, cater to a lot of different positions. Now to get him to sit, I've actually just gone ahead and grabbed this little box. because as you can see, he doesn't have any mobility joints here. But that doesn't really matter in my opinion, because when you want him to sit, always be careful, by the way, because his arms are so long and the fingers are so spindly. Be careful that he doesn't get his fingers stuck beneath the butt. It's happened to me a couple of times, and I've always been afraid to break something. That's why I always cock his elbows like that, just to get that out of the way. Ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that the faceplate can come off that easily. And just to be safe, I'm gonna put it to the side now because my nerves. Anyway, back to sitting. It helps if you cock the knees too, and then make sure his torso is quite slouched. And then he should have a good balance to sit. This is obviously not the best example of a sitting Dollshe, but it works, and he sits quite well like that. Because he's got such swivelly joints, he's quite easy to maneuver into any position. However, because these joints are so simplistic, it doesn't mean that he will stay in those positions. His faceplate wants to fly off the minute you slouch him or you wiggle around the head back or something. You do something, you're not thinking about it, and then suddenly the faceplate comes off. That is something that I don't like at all, I must say. However, I think that with a proper wig on, this problem should be solved, and that the faceplate will then be held into place by not only a wig, maybe even a wig cap, and then it shouldn't fall off anymore. If you want him to sit with his legs outstretched, he can do that. Make sure all the joints are in place, and make sure he slouches again, because otherwise he will fall back. The joint is in its normal position now, and there's no slouching going on, and he sits quite well, so that's okay. He can point his toes like that, which is quite nice. It helps also with getting on shoes. I do have to say though, he does pose, or let's say he does stand a lot worse in shoes than without shoes, which is unfortunate. Alright, now I've maneuvered this body for quite a bit now, and I cannot get him to sit in a cross-legged position. Somehow I feel like there's a joint here that is missing somewhere here in the butt, you know, something that to keep him in place in this position. The double jointing in the knees works fine, I mean, like any other BJD with double jointed knees. But overall, he does pose quite well. It's just that there are some things that you can't do. I have the feeling in general that Dollshe focuses on simplistic engineering, but through that achieving the best results. I can only speak for this particular line, obviously. I think he's in the range of good poses, especially considering his size and his proportions. I mean, he's very, very slim, and he's also very, very tall, which makes it difficult. And I think Dollshe pulled it off really well, considering all these factors. The main reason I have a Dollshe Saint is because I fell in love with the sculpt, and I also have fallen in love with Dollshe aesthetics. I think the aesthetics Dollshe represents are extremely unique, and I also love the sculpting. I think they did a really good job. I think they do a good job with all their lines. And most of all, I think that Dollshe's quality of sculpting and of casting is absolutely supreme. And that's what makes Dollshe dolls very valuable also, in my opinion, because you're not only getting unique sculpts or unique proportions, you're also getting very high quality of handcrafted original BJDs. And I think Dollshe in that field is definitely unparalleled from what I've seen. And I've had quite a few different companies till now, so in my humble opinion, Dollshe's quality is the best quality of doll that I have seen so far in my BJD hobby life. With every doll I review, I always feel like I could say 1,000 things about it, but most of all, I'm just doing this so that I can provide information for you guys and for people that are wanting to get dolls like this, but are just not sure yet. And I know that insecurity before purchasing a new doll. That's why I want to make sure people are informed about the good sides and the bad sides of a doll. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will share it with other people who are looking for information on this particular doll. And I hope you will also check out the other reviews that I've made. And other than that, I wish you all a happy dolly day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!